Stage 1. Stage 1 is designed to help improve cardiorespiratory fitness levels in apparently healthy, out of shape clients. Okay? Using a target heart rate of 65 to 75% of age predicted heart rate max, or approximately 12 to 13 on the rate of perceived exertion scale. Cardiorespiratory training, and this is straight from your NASM textbook, okay? Cardiorespiratory training, as with any other forms of training, falls under the principle of specificity. According to the principles of specificity, the body will adapt to the level of stress placed on it and then require more or varied amounts of stress to produce a higher level of adaptation in the future. So we've got stage training here. So give me your thumbs up if you guys are paying rapt attention to this, because this confuses the heck out of a lot of students. I don't know why they do it this way, okay? But you have stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 training. Okay, so stages of training. And then you have zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3 of your heart rate. Okay, so you have stage training and your zones, your heart rate zones that you train with. Now students will get confused between those, and it's very easy, understandably so. So you just need to be aware of that going into here, okay? So stage training. The purpose of stage training is to ensure that cardiorespiratory training programs progress in an organized fashion to ensure continual adaptation and to minimize the risk of overtraining and injury. The 3 different stages of cardiorespiratory training uses 3 heart rate training zones right here that are similar to the 3 levels of training seen in the OPT model. Each stage helps create a strong cardiorespiratory base to build on subsequent stages. So zone 1, sample activity, walking or jogging. Okay, so that's 65 to 75% of your age predicted heart rate max. Rate of perceived exertion would be 12 to 13. I'll hit rate of perceived exertion in a second. Zone 2 is 76 to 85% of our heart rate max. And then 86 to 95% is full-on gut-wrenching, you know, you're running away from a grizzly bear or something like that, okay? So that would be your zone 3. Hard to sustain zone 3 for a prolonged period of time. You could not run a 5K race, really, you couldn't run it in zone 3. You would back down at certain points into zone 2. Okay. So let me just show you here an example, and we had this up the other day. So this one right here. So this is your heart rate, this is your age, this is your maximal heart rate right here, right there, okay? So we have a person's 44 years old, and let's say their resting heart rate is 52, but for maximum heart rate, you don't need to have this number, okay? That can be 0, and still this stays the same, okay? So right here we have the beginning of zone 1, 65% of heart rate max, and that goes to 75%. So 65% to 75%, we're talking about a heart rate of 115 to about 130 beats per minute. That would be zone 1. Okay, zone 2 You're breathing heavy. Harder to engage in conversation when you're in zone 2 because you're breathing too heavy. Your heart rate's above 130. Okay, so it's above 130 and it's getting into 150 beats per minute. Just to let you guys know, when I go for a run, my heart rate's in the range of 140 to 150, in that range. Doesn't go up much above that because I can't sustain that intensity for that long. Okay, zone 3 is 85% and above. NASM says it goes to 95%, but basically it's anything above 85%. Okay, that would be an interval. Okay, that would be an interval. You can't stay up there for very long. Does everybody understand that part? Your zone 3 is not something that you stay in. Last time I taught this class, I had a lot of students submitting in and saying, you know, having somebody in zone 3 for the whole workout. I'm like, man, you don't know what you're doing to that person. Okay, you're not a nice trainer. Okay, so there's your zones right here. Okay, so these percentages are something you need to calculate out based on 220 minus the person's age, and then take that and multiply it by the percentage you want to train them at for whatever zone. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't throw in a 30-second or a minute or a 3-minute bout of, you know, rowing. You say, okay, you got to row for, you know, 9 calories. You got to hit 9 calories on the rower. You know, it should show you on the display with the rowers. Or you get on the assault bike. I wouldn't go with the assault bike. You know, that's very CrossFit-ish for me to say. But you can get on like a regular recumbent exercise or a recumbent bike or a spinning bike and go for a certain time frame, say 2 minutes on the bike or something like that. You can put that in there if you want. I remember one trainer in the gym, he would have them do one sort of exercise and then he would have them walk on a very steep grade on the treadmill for a minute in between each exercise. So he would do a vertical load. It wouldn't necessarily be a ton of exercises in the vertical load. It might be 4 or 5 exercises, but in between each of those exercises, the guy would be on the treadmill or the client would be on the treadmill. That was kind of his go-to with a lot of his designs based on clients' goals. And, you know, he was an okay trainer. He was pretty good, knew his stuff. All right, so we've got stage 1, where in stage 1, clients should start slowly and gradually work up to 30 to 60 minutes of continuous exercise in zone 1. If the client has never exercised before, he or she might start in zone 1 for only 5 minutes or reduce the heart rate percentage to general health activity recommendations discussed in table 8.6. This is from 4th edition, I think. Now, if you're doing a vertical loading circuit with the person, you can circumvent this idea of only starting out at 5 minutes. But if we're doing some sort of endurance training where they're doing something rhythmical for a long period of time, like running, jogging, swimming, biking, bicycling, rowing, that sort of thing, that, you know, we're trying to build that up, okay? Stage 1 training also helps a client better meet the muscular endurance demands of stabilization training. Okay, so stabilization training is endurance training. That's why they call it stabilization endurance, right? Now, stage 2 is designed for clients with low to moderate cardiorespiratory fitness levels who are ready to begin training at a higher intensity level. The focus in this stage is on increasing the workload in a way that will help the client alter heart rate in and out of zones 1 and 2. Stage 2 training helps increase the cardiorespiratory capacity needed for workout styles and the strength level of the OPT model. Okay, so and let's just finish this part right here. So during this first workout, questions may need to be asked frequently to determine if adjustments need to be made. Okay, so you're asking them how are they going, how are they doing on a scale of 1 to 10. What kind of intensity are you feeling right now? 10 being I'm dying, 1 being this is too easy, right? Typically in your rate of perceived exertion, I'm thinking if I'm going from guesswork, we're talking about, you know, a range of 6 or so. Now, rate of perceived exertion, let's talk about this for just a second. So zone 2 is saying there that, you know, these are people in stage 2. Here's how I would say stage 2. You want them to do some cardio, which is good. You want to pick it up a notch, which is good, but they're not yet at the point where they can, what you would say, let's go and sprint. Let's go and do some wind sprints. They're not there yet. Their joints are not there yet. Their muscle strength is not there yet. They don't have enough strength in the ankles, okay? They haven't really done any sprinting ever. We need to build that. We need to build that up, okay? So that is zone 2. Zone 2 would also be an example of, let's say, a moderate step aerobics class, okay? Now, somebody who's in zone 3, sorry, stage 3, oh my gosh. Okay, so stage 3. This stage is somewhat advanced for the client who has a moderately high cardiorespiratory fitness level base and will use heart rate zones 1, 2, and 3. The focus in this stage is on further increasing the workload, speed, incline level in a way that will help the client alter heart rate in and out of each zone. Stage 3 training increases the capacity of the energy systems needed at the power level of the OPT model. I think in your textbook as well, it will tell you, if we go to zone 3, where is that? Zone 3. Does anybody have that page? Anyway, going off the 4th edition, it should tell you that zone 3 is not meant to be maintained for a prolonged period of time. Okay, it's meant to be only up there for a little bit. Okay. So here's an example of a stage 1 training program. So they're basically spending all their time on stage 1 in, you know, zone 1. Another example of a zone 1 training program, or this is zone 2, okay? Zone 2. You're crossing in to this elevated heart rate of 76 to 85%, okay? Remember that typically anything past 85% is considered high intensity, can't maintain it for a prolonged period of time. So they're moving hard where they're not really able to talk very much, but they're not engaged in a full-on sprint. And zone 3, they're taking it to that next level where they're going, you know, leaving nothing, you know, in some of these stages. Notice that these intervals are put in minutes here. Okay. All right. Now, when we get into week 4, we're going to be covering excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, dehydration, cardiac drift. Still building some of this stuff out, but as you recognize, you know, I'm still kind of catching up on how to do this programming. Okay, so you've got several examples in this Google document of how you can do. These are vertical loading circuits. Okay, this one's a high intensity one right here. So this would definitely be hitting zone 3. This is a zone 3 throw up workout. Okay. This one right here could be zone 1, but more easily zone 2. Okay, because it's a vertical loading circuit, you can take them there to zone 3, not, you know, even though they're sedentary.
Do you mean, when you say zone 1, do you mean stage 1?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you for putting me straight. Yes, I'm talking the stages there. Okay. So, like I said, with your assignments here, let's go to our course shell here for our assignments. I'm not the type of instructor that's going to throw you to the wolves if you do something wrong. Okay. If you make a mistake, especially if you've been in live class, I definitely love it when you're in live class. If you've made a mistake and you've submitted the assignment in early, okay, I'll send it back and say, hey, let's take a look at this, and it might be better if we do, you know, XYZ for this particular assignment. Here we go. So summary from weeks 1 and 2. So you're basically building off of these zones, you know, creating a program based on the fitness assessment that you did with your client in weeks 1. Okay. Stage 2 programming here. So what you're going to want to do, I would go ahead and use intervals for the client. Okay, and this could be, you can be doing, you know, weight training. You can say, all right, I want some deadlift intervals. I want to see, you know, you do as many deadlifts as you can at this particular weight in 30 seconds, right? You can do stuff like that, okay? Or you could have them do several different exercises at a certain intensity. Okay, so that would be like your vertical loading circuit. Okay. Stage 3 programming, you're taking them to, you know, the limits of their capacity in stage 3. They're going full out as hard as they can. It would be like a sprint, okay? Hard as they can for an interval. But I would say on the safe side, you program it out for them to be doing 30 seconds, 45 seconds maybe. If we're taking it to a minute, when practical application with a lot of your clients, they're going to be completely through. They're going to be done after a minute of doing something full on in stage 3 for a whole minute. Okay. So I would maybe program like 30 seconds, 20 seconds in stage 3, back it down to maybe stage 1 for a little bit, and then hit stage 2, then back to stage 1, and then hit stage 3. So I think they're kind of showing you that in their example with stage 3. See, they hit stage 1. They hit stage 1 for the warm up, and then they're in stage 2. A little bit higher in stage 2. Sorry, we're talking about. I'm messing it up again. Sorry, Alyssa. Like, this guy can't keep it straight. So we're talking about what zones they're training in when we're doing a stage 3 training session. So if we're in stage 3, programming for somebody who's in advanced cardiovascular shape, okay, we are going to be putting them in zone 3, but I would recommend using a zone 1 and then taking it to stage 3 to zone 3, and then backing it down to zone 1 again, and then maybe taking it to zone 2, and then back to zone 1, and then back to zone 3, then back to zone 1, and then back to zone 2. Okay, you can take them from zone 3 to zone 2 and back and forth, but the sustainability of that is going to be, you're going to wear them out. So they're gradually going to lose work capacity doing it that way. Okay, which is fine. But you know, you're not going to be. I would not say that you're going to necessarily be able to keep a client within zones 2 and zones 3 for an hour comfortably. They're going to be working really, really hard for that. Okay. I would say maybe 18 minutes to 30 minutes if you're mixing zones 2 and zones 3 and not using zone 1.